The rain hammered against the windows of our small cottage in the Cotswolds, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. For years, Alistair, a 46-year-old architect, had built a life with Bronwyn that I believed was solid, unbreakable. We'd met at a design conference in Barcelona, her fiery red hair and sharp wit instantly captivating me. She was a sculptor, her hands shaping clay into breathtaking forms, much like she had shaped my life into something beautiful. Or so I thought. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Bronwyn, usually so communicative, became distant. Her late nights at the studio increased and her explanations grew vague. Just a big commission, Alistair, she'd say, brushing a kiss against my cheek, but her eyes wouldn't quite meet mine. I chalked it up to artistic temperament, the pressures of her work. I perhaps foolishly trusted her implicitly. Then came the phone calls. Always hushed, always taken in another room. When I'd ask who it was, she'd deflect, oh, just a client or wrong number. My gut churned with unease, a feeling I tried to ignore, burying myself in my work, designing sustainable homes that would stand the test of time, ironically, something my own home seemed incapable of doing. The first concrete sign came in the form of a misplaced receipt. I was tidying up her studio, something I often did to help her, when I found it tucked inside a sketchbook. A restaurant receipt for two, dated a week prior, at a place I knew she hadn't been with me. The Willow Tree, a romantic spot overlooking the river. My heart skipped a beat, then began to pound in my chest. I felt a cold dread creep up my spine. I told myself it was a business lunch, a meeting with a potential patron. But the nagging voice in my head wouldn't be silenced. I started paying closer attention. Her phone became a fortress, never leaving her side. She'd flinch if I even glanced at it. One evening, while she was in the shower, her phone buzzed incessantly. Curiosity, or perhaps a desperate need for reassurance, overwhelmed me. I picked it up. It was a text message from someone named Gareth. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, my love." The Willow Tree again, the world seemed to tilt on its axis. My breath hitched in my throat. Gareth. Who the hell was Gareth? I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. I quickly deleted the message, replacing the phone exactly as I'd found it. My mind raced, trying to make sense of what I'd just read. My Bronwyn, was having an affair. The thought was a physical blow, knocking the wind out of me. I stumbled out of the studio, needing air, needing to escape the suffocating feeling of betrayal. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed next to Bronwyn, her body warm and familiar, yet now alien. How could she do this? How could she lie to me, betray our vows, our life together? I stared at the ceiling, the shadows dancing in the moonlight, each one a testament to my shattered trust. The next day I decided on a course of action. I couldn't confront her without proof, not yet. I needed to know the extent of her deception. I called in sick to work, telling my assistant, Bertram, I had a terrible migraine. Bertram, a loyal and discreet man, offered his sympathies. I spent the day in a haze of anxiety, waiting for Bronwyn to leave for her studio. As soon as she was gone, I did something I never thought I was capable of. I went through her things. I know it was a violation of her privacy, but I felt I had no choice. I started with her drawers, carefully sifting through her clothes, her jewelry, her personal items. Nothing. Then I moved to her computer. I knew her password. It was our anniversary date. I hesitated for a moment, my conscience warring with my need to know the truth. But the pain of her betrayal outweighed my hesitation. I typed in the password and waited for the computer to boot up. I checked her email first. Nothing incriminating there. Then I looked at her browser history. My stomach lurched. Page after page of searches for romantic getaways, best restaurants for couples, and signs of a loveless marriage. My heart sank further with each click. She had been planning this, contemplating this for weeks, maybe months. Then I found it. A folder labeled Gareth. Inside were dozens of photographs. Bronwyn and Gareth laughing, holding hands, kissing. Pictures taken at the Willow Tree, in parks, even in front of our cottage. My cottage. The audacity of it took my breath away. Gareth was tall, handsome, with a confident smile. He looked like the kind of man Bronwyn would find attractive. Successful, charming, and clearly smitten with her. The pictures were intimate, passionate, and utterly devastating. I closed the laptop, my hands shaking. The evidence was irrefutable. Bronwyn was having an affair, and she had been for a long time. The pain was unbearable, a crushing weight on my chest. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of betrayal. I needed to confront her. I couldn't live with this secret, this lie, any longer. I decided to wait for her to come home to face her with the truth. I sat in the living room, the rain still lashing against the windows, the silence broken only by the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. Each tick was a hammer blow to my soul. She arrived home late, her cheeks flushed, her eyes bright. "Alistair, darling, you're home. I thought you were sick," she said, feigning concern. "We need to talk, Bronwyn," I said, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. She looked at me, her smile faltering. "What is it?" I didn't say a word. I simply opened the laptop and showed her the pictures. Her face drained of color. Her eyes widened in disbelief, then filled with fear. "Alistair, I can explain," she stammered. "Explain what, Bronwyn? Explain how you could betray me like this. Explain how you could lie to me, cheat on me, and destroy everything we've built together." My voice rose, the anger finally breaking through the numbness. "It just happened," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I didn't mean for it to, it just happened." I repeated, incredulous. "You planned romantic getaways, you took pictures, you exchanged love notes. That doesn't just happen, Bronwyn. That's a deliberate, calculated act of betrayal." She started to cry. "I'm so sorry, Alistair. I never wanted to hurt you, but you did, Bronwyn. You hurt me more than you can possibly imagine," I said, my voice cracking with emotion. "I loved you, I trusted you, and you threw it all away for what? A fleeting moment of passion with someone else." "It's more than that, Alistair," she said, her voice rising. "Gareth understands me. He appreciates my art. He makes me feel alive, and I don't." I asked, the pain cutting deep. She hesitated. "Not anymore," she said softly. "We've grown apart, Alistair. We're not the same people we were when we met, so instead of talking to me, instead of trying to work things out, you decided to have an affair." I said, my voice laced with sarcasm. "I know it was wrong," she said, tears streaming down her face, "but I couldn't help myself. I was drawn to him, drawn to him." I scoffed. "That's your excuse. You were drawn to him. What about our vows, Bronwyn? What about our commitment to each other? Were those just empty words to you?" She didn't answer. She couldn't. The guilt was written all over her face. "I want you to leave, Bronwyn," I said, my voice cold and hard. "I want you out of my house, out of my life. I can't bear to look at you anymore." "Alistair, please," she begged. "Don't do this. We can work through this. We can go to counseling. We can fix this." "There's nothing to fix, Bronwyn," I said. "You broke it. You shattered it. And I'm not going to waste my time trying to piece it back together." She packed her bags that night, her sobs echoing through the house. I watched her, my heart aching but my resolve firm. I couldn't forgive her. I couldn't forget what she had done. As she walked out the door, she turned to me, her eyes pleading. "I am so sorry, Alistair. I'll always love you." "Love isn't enough, Bronwyn," I said, my voice barely audible. "Sometimes it's just not enough." She left, disappearing into the rain-soaked night. I stood there, alone in the house we had built together, the silence deafening. My life as I knew it was over. The next few months were a blur. I threw myself into my work, designing more sustainable homes, trying to find solace in the creation of something lasting. I filed for divorce, the legal proceedings a painful reminder of Bronwyn's betrayal. I spoke to Bertram, confiding in him about what had happened. He was shocked and supportive, offering a shoulder to cry on and a listening ear. I learned that Gareth was a wealthy art collector, a patron of the arts who had been supporting Bronwyn's work for some time. He had showered her with attention, with praise, with promises of a life of luxury and artistic freedom. She had been seduced by his charm, his wealth, and his apparent admiration for her talent. I also learned that their affair had been going on for over a year, much longer than I had suspected. They had been meeting in secret, traveling together, even planning a future together. The depth of her deception was staggering. One day I received a phone call from an unknown number. I hesitated before answering, but curiosity got the better of me. "Alistair." A woman's voice said. "Yes, speaking. My name is Isolde. I'm Gareth's wife." My heart skipped a beat. "Gareth's wife, yes," she said, her voice trembling. "I know about the affair. I know about Bronwyn. How did you find out?" I asked. "I found emails, text messages, pictures," she said, her voice filled with anger and pain. "He's been lying to me for months." "I'm so sorry," I said, feeling a pang of sympathy for her. "I know exactly what you're going through." "I'm not calling for sympathy, Alistair," she said. "I'm calling for help. I want to expose them. I want to make them pay for what they've done. And so Isolde and I formed an unlikely alliance. We shared information, we strategized, we planned our revenge. We were both victims of Bronwyn and Gareth's selfishness, and we were determined to make them face the consequences of their actions. Isolde, it turned out, was a formidable woman. She was intelligent, resourceful, and fiercely protective of her family. She had access to Gareth's financial records, his business dealings, his social connections. She uncovered a web of lies and deceit that was far more extensive than I had imagined. Together, we decided to expose their affair to their families, their friends, and their professional colleagues. We leaked the pictures, the emails, the text messages to a local newspaper, ensuring that their story would be front-page news. We contacted their employers, revealing their unethical behavior and their violation of trust. The fallout was swift and devastating. Gareth lost his job, his reputation tarnished beyond repair. His family disowned him, his friends abandoned him. He was ostracized from the art community, his name synonymous with betrayal and scandal. Bronwyn's career also suffered. Her commissions dried up, her exhibitions were canceled, and her reputation as an artist was forever tainted. She became a pariah, shunned by her peers and ridiculed by the public. They both tried to deny the affair, to minimize their actions, to blame each other. But the evidence was overwhelming, the truth undeniable. They had no choice but to face the consequences of their choices. I watched it all unfold from a distance, feeling a sense of satisfaction but also a deep sadness. I had wanted revenge, but I hadn't wanted this. I hadn't wanted to see their lives destroyed, but they had brought it upon themselves. They had made their choices and they had to live with the consequences. In the end, I moved on. I sold the cottage in the Cotswolds, seeking a fresh start in a new city. I focused on my work, designing innovative and sustainable homes, finding fulfillment in my craft. I started dating again, cautiously, tentatively, learning to trust again, to love again. I never spoke to Bronwyn again. I never saw Gareth again. They became ghosts in my past, a painful reminder of a love that had turned to betrayal. Years later, I received a letter from Bronwyn. It was a long, rambling apology, filled with regret and remorse. She admitted that she had made a terrible mistake, that she had been blinded by Gareth's wealth and attention, that she had destroyed something beautiful and irreplaceable. She told me that Gareth had left her, that he had moved on to another woman, another artist, another opportunity. She was alone, penniless, and struggling to make a living. She had lost everything: her career, her reputation, her friends, and her family. She asked for my forgiveness, not for her sake, but for her own. She needed to know that I had moved on, that I had found happiness, that I had not been completely destroyed by her betrayal. I read the letter, my heart aching with a mixture of pity and anger. I thought about all the pain she had caused me, all the lies she had told, all the dreams she had shattered. And then I thought about the woman I had loved, the woman who had once brought so much joy into my life. I picked up a pen and wrote a short, simple reply. "I forgive you, Bronwyn," I wrote. "But I can never forget." I mailed the letter, feeling a sense of closure, a sense of peace. I had finally let go of the past, of the anger, of the pain. I was free to move on, to embrace the future, to find happiness again. The rain had stopped, the clouds had parted, and the sun was shining brightly. A new day had dawned, a new chapter had begun. And I was ready to face it with hope, with courage, and with the unwavering belief that love, even after betrayal, could still find a way to bloom.